Have you ever stopped and wondered what would have happened if everything, including you, me, the oceans, the mountains, and the air we breathe, had remained nothing more than stardust? When I say that, I'm not speaking metaphorically. I am talking about the literal cosmic dust and elements that are flung across space. When certain stars reach the dramatic endpoint of their lives and explode as supernovae, those violent, brilliant deaths seed the cosmos with the heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, gold, that later collect into new stars, planets, and eventually life. It is because of that scattered material that our sun and our planet Earth could form at all. In short, we are the grandchildren of ancient exploding stars. Think about that for a moment. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, all forged inside stars or produced during the chaos of their final explosions. It is a humbling and strangely beautiful thought. The very atoms that make up your body once burned inside a star or were born in its death throes. In that light, the cosmos is not some distant backdrop, it's our family history written in light years. Who knows, perhaps the particular supernova whose ejected material later became our solar system was the final chapter in the story of some ancient civilization. Maybe long before humans walked the Earth, an intelligent species rose and fell on a planet that orbited a star, which ultimately detonated in a supernova. Their homeworld was destroyed, but the elements they left behind seeded the next generation of worlds, eventually culminating across unimaginable spans of time and space in us. Conversely, it's possible that far in the future a supernova will sterilize a neighborhood of space and, in doing so, clear the way for new chemistries and life forms to emerge after us. The circle of cosmic life and death is vast and indifferent and strangely poetic. So when will the next supernova occur? Could the next exploding star be our very own sun? The short answer, not our sun, at least not by the supernova mechanism. And while supernovae are happening constantly across the universe, a clearly visible one inside the Milky Way is not expected in the near future. Let me unpack that. If we zoom out to the scale of the observable universe, astronomers estimate that tens of supernovae occur every single second. Some popular figures put that at around 30 supernovae per second. When averaged across the entire observable cosmos, that number is staggering. By the time I finish this paragraph, dozens, perhaps hundreds of stars in distant galaxies will have lived out their final moments and exploded. The universe is, in that sense, constantly renewing itself. Now, contrast that with our local view. The Milky Way galaxy, home to our sun and roughly 200 to 400 billion stars, is a crowded, dusty place. Because of interstellar dust and the sheer number of stars, we cannot see every single star clearly. Even so, astronomers who study stellar evolution and survey the sky do not expect any supernova within the Milky Way in the next 50 years. That doesn't mean it isn't possible. Nature can surprise us, but current observations and models suggest there are no imminent candidates that would explode within that time frame. This striking contrast, a universe where dozens of stars explode every second, and a single galaxy in which we expect no such spectacle for decades, helps us appreciate how small our galactic neighborhood is in the cosmic web. But why do stars explode as supernovae in the first place? To answer that, we need to look at how stars live. A star's life is a balance, a long struggle between two opposing tendencies. On one side is gravity, relentless and inward. The star's own mass pulls everything toward its center, constantly trying to compress it. On the other side is fusion-based pressure, produced when hydrogen atoms in the core fuse into helium and release tremendous energy. That outward pressure pushes against gravity and keeps the star from collapsing. This equilibrium can last for millions to billions of years, depending on the star's mass. When people say the star has run out of fuel, what they usually mean is this: the core no longer has enough hydrogen left to fuse into helium at the rate needed to sustain the outward pressure that counteracts gravity. When fusion dwindles, gravity wins. The core collapses under its own weight, causing temperatures and densities to spike. In many massive stars that collapse, the infalling material bounces off the extraordinarily dense core and is expelled violently outward, and that explosion is a core collapse supernova. The event is both cataclysmic and creative. It destroys the star, but the elements spewed into space seed the birth of new stars, planets, and the building blocks of life. There's also another route to a supernova in certain binary star systems. Material can stream from one star onto a white dwarf companion. If the white dwarf accumulates enough material to exceed a critical mass, it can undergo a thermonuclear runaway and detonate as a Type Ia supernova. These explosions are especially important to astronomers because they are incredibly bright and have fairly uniform brightness, allowing them to be used as standard candles to measure cosmic distances. Not all stars share the same fate. Our sun is a middleweight star. It lacks the mass to undergo a core collapse supernova. Stars need to be roughly at least 8 to 15 times the mass of the Sun. Estimates vary to follow the core collapse pathway. The Sun will instead expand into a red giant billions of years from now, shed its outer layers into a glowing planetary nebula, and settle as a white dwarf. So the Sun's end won't be an explosive supernova, it will be a quieter, albeit still dramatic, transformation. Back to cosmic fireworks elsewhere, we do observe supernovae in other galaxies all the time. They ray easier to spot against less cluttered backgrounds than those that might occur inside our dusty plane of the Milky Way. A famous historical example is Supernova 1987A, discovered in 1987 in the Large Magellanic Cloud, a satellite galaxy about 168,000 light-years away. Fascinatingly, the light we saw in 1987 actually left the explosion 168,000 years earlier, so we were witnessing an event from Earth's deep past. Because nothing can travel faster than light, astronomical observations are fundamentally time travel. Looking out is looking back. When that particular star exploded, early human ancestors were evolving on Earth. The species that would eventually become modern humans were only beginning to take shape. Yet by the late 20th century, hundreds of thousands of years later, humans had developed telescopes sophisticated enough to detect and study that ancient blast. That temporal distance, seeing events that occurred long before human civilization, is one of the most humbling aspects of astronomy. If a supernova were to occur within the Milky Way today, and be close enough to be spectacular to our eyes, astronomers have identified several candidate stars that could one day explode. One such bright star often mentioned is Spica in the constellation Virgo. If Spica went supernova, it would be a brilliant and unforgettable sight. But the timelines involved are enormous. Spica is not expected to explode for millions of years at least. So while it's an exciting hypothetical, it is not something any of us are likely to witness in our lifetimes. What about danger? Could a nearby supernova threaten life on Earth? The short and comforting answer is only if it happens very close, within roughly 75 light-years. At such proximity, the intense radiation and cosmic rays from the explosion could erode the atmosphere or damage life in serious ways. But there are no known candidate stars within that lethal radius. Most potential supernova progenitors are comfortably far away, and their effects on Earth, if any, would be minimal. Let's revisit the big picture one more time. The Sun, Earth, and we ourselves are the products of earlier generations of stars. Those ancient stars lived and died, and their explosive deaths enriched the galaxy with the heavy elements necessary for rocky planets and carbon-based life. If you like grand metaphors, you might say that our cosmic mother is not any single planet or star, but a succession of stars that lived, burned, and died, each generation building the materials for the next. In that sense, we are made of the past, literally composed of the ashes of dead stars. So the galaxy is both a cradle and a cemetery, an ongoing workshop, where matter is recycled across eons. Supernovae look destructive when they happen, but they are also the universe's way of making complexity possible. They're the forges that created the periodic table elements we know and use, from the carbon in our cells to the iron in our tools. As always, the cosmos is stranger and more generous than our everyday perspective allows. We are made of star stuff, not in a poetic sense only, but in the most literal physical sense imaginable. And that fact threads us into a universe of repeating cycles: birth, life, death, and new births again. Thanks for going on this cosmic detour with me. If you enjoyed this deep dive into stellar life cycles and the origins of the elements, stick around for the next video where we'll explore in more detail the different types of supernova, how astronomers detect them across cosmic distances, and what the distant past can teach us about the possible futures of our own star system. Until next time, keep looking up. Goodbye for now.